I'm feeling lazy today, so this is the best intro you're gonna get. I'm gonna look at the Simeon Custom Knives RT today. I started to just do an unboxing video for this, but it's kind of turned into a review. I keep finding more things I want to talk about, so I'm gonna put it down on the bench and go over it with you. All right, stick around. I apologize in advance. I had a lot of trouble with the autofocus in this video. I've put in some B-roll over some of it. I think I've made it watchable. I just didn't want to reshoot the entire thing after I rambled for 15 minutes. I've been learning to flip balisongs and I've been doing it with live blades and I'm not very good, so this is what happens when you do that. So forgive me, forgive the band-aids, I hope it's not too gross. This is the packaging you get with this thing. It's a little different maybe than you're used to. You see a lot of zipper cases, you see a lot of cardboard boxes, and some clamshell cases, but I don't get these fabric bags very often. I think this is the only knife I've got in my collection right now that came in a bag like this. Kind of neat. It's got his name right there, Simeon Custom Knives. I'm not sure if he's making these or if he's contracting someone local, but I'd almost guarantee somebody local to him is making these, if it's not him himself. Really cool little patch. Looks like a Peter Rossetti knife, doesn't it? Like a Payson or something. Does Simeon make a knife that looks like that? Not that I've noticed, maybe he does. Certificate of Authenticity, the RT Reverse Tanto model, Nitro V, Distressed Bronze, Bronze Hardware, July 2025. Et voila! Oh. It's one of the quirks of this knife. We're going to talk about that in a minute. It's a really, really good looking knife. As soon as I saw this knife, I knew I had to have one. It just looks so good to me. I know looks are subjective as much with knives as with anything else, but this really speaks to me. This thing looks perfect. I absolutely love the way this thing looks. It doesn't have a ton of detail going into like the scales. They're flat, they're not contoured. The edges aren't sharp. They're rounded off enough, but they're left kind of sharp. It's a very angular design, and sometimes that works out really well, and I think it does here. You've got the namesake reverse tanto blade, the RT, a thin little pierced fuller for opening, and a kind of a vestigial flipper tab. It's not much of a flipper tab, it's really just the lock bar. Not the lock bar, the lock face. This is where the lock bar engages, and he just left it long enough that it protrudes when locked. That way you got a little something to stick out of the top to flip with, but it's not much of a flipper tab. There's not even any jimping on it. So you're just gonna have to pray to the gods that you get enough traction. Another problem of this knife is that it's extremely lock bar sensitive. I've got a few knives that are in my collection that I forgive that on. This will probably be another one because I love the way it looks so much. But if you have any pressure whatsoever on that lock bar, this knife will not open with the flipper. I have to consciously pull my middle finger off of the knife. You can ride the clip with your back two fingers, but you can't put your middle finger pretty much anywhere on the knife. There's not much here. If you have medium, large hands, you're gonna have trouble with that. So I just pull it off with the knife altogether, lift it off, and then flip, and it flips fine like that. It's got pretty good action. It is double clutchy though. If you open the lock bar and drop it onto your thumb, it is not ready to fall. The detent is placed way back here in the corner of the lock bar, so the knife has to travel all that way before it contacts it. And there it is right there. Don't love that, but Simeon's hardly the only one doing that. My favorite knife brand in the world is Shirogorov, and they are one of the worst about that. They have some of the longest detent travels that I've seen on a knife. This one's not nearly as bad, but it really annoys me when I drop a flipper knife onto my thumb and it's not past the detent ready to fall. That's just so annoying. Actually, earlier today I cut my knuckle here above my band-aid because you can't drop it on your thumb like that, so I tried to just drop it from the side and it fell and it didn't hit my knuckle in time, or my thumbnail in time. It hit me in the knuckle and cut me. Not really a great way to close this knife. Point it down maybe. I think really you're going to be dropping it onto the detent and then pushing it home with your finger. Finger it out. Finger it home. It reverse flicks really nice. Thumb flick? Not really. As I expected. I don't really expect it to thumb flick. Somebody might be able to do it, but I can't. It flips nice as long as you're not on the lock bar. But like I said, it's hard to do. It's hard to not be on the lock bar. It's pretty well centered. It favors the clip side maybe, very, very slightly, but it's close enough that it doesn't bother me. That's one of the things I liked about the knife, actually, was these milling lines on the swedge and on the primary bevel. I think that looks really cool. Milling lines on the handle too, which gives you just enough texture that it doesn't feel slimy in your hand, and you're gonna have good grip. You can choke up here if you want to, onto that flipper tab. There's no jimping on the top, so if you're a person who really likes jimping, that might upset you. I don't really care. I could take or leave the jimping other than on the flipper tab, and you don't get any there either, like I said earlier. It's comfortable in the hand. The clip, you're gonna feel the clip a little bit, but it's not bad. It's a nice rounded clip design. It's not uncomfortable. The hardware is nicely bronzed to match. I think those look pretty neat. They're nice and recessed and flush with the scale. You don't always see that on these small batch knives. Very small batch. I'm pretty sure he cranks these out one at a time. This is close to a custom knife. I'm gonna stop short of calling it a custom knife because I requested 2 custom options that he did not do. And if I ask for custom options and they say no, it's not, it's kind of hard to call it a custom knife, isn't it? I would call this a semi-custom or a high-end, like ultra high-end production knife. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's still a great knife, but he does it in Nitro V. I don't really love that. I don't like paying $800 for a knife with Nitro V. I don't know. It's a fine steel. It just bothers me. I'm just a snob. He's not the only one doing that either. Grimsmo uses RWL34, which is a pretty cheap steel. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with Nitro V either. They're fine. Gavco uses Nitro V pretty much exclusively these days. Another maker I really like the style of, but that always bothered me. So there's nothing wrong with these steels. Lots of high-end makers are using them. I requested something a little better. He initially was like, oh, I don't know, I really like Nitro V. I think you'll like it too. And I'm sure I will. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I asked for something a little nicer. I said, what do you got kicking around? He said he could probably do it in S35. He thought he had some S35 laying around. And I was like, okay, cool, that's perfect. I love S35. I've had it for years. I like it a lot. I use it on my Inkosi, on my Sabenza. I guess my Inkosi's S45, but they're so close it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I like that steel. Nice balanced steel. Closer delivery time, he said he couldn't make that work. I don't know why. It wasn't big enough or something. I asked him if he could do a sharpening choil. He said that he doesn't really do them on this model. He wasn't sure it would work. I mean, I wasn't like shocked when he said he said he would try to, and then closer to delivery time he told me he couldn't do it, and he told me he couldn't do the steel. So I got the base model with no choil and no steel that I wanted. So this is really not the knife that I wanted when I ordered it, but it's really cool anyway. I'd probably still buy it, but it's just, I mean, you can't go into it with it hoping you're going to get a couple custom options and then not get any custom options and then not feel a little bummed about it, you know. But he's a nice guy. I'm not trying to put any shade on him or anything like that. I'll probably put my own sharpening choil in it because any knife without a sharpening choil, as soon as you start sharpening it more than once or twice, it's going to start recurving. It's going to look like shit, and there's nothing you can really do about it. As that edge moves up, it's going to start looking bad, so you really need to do something. I may take the blade out, put it on a small wheel, and take it out in here myself or something. I used to make knives, not folders, but fixed blades, but I've got enough experience that I feel confident that I could do something like that without ruining the way it looks. Alternatively, you could use a small file and do that, but I'd rather have a larger, more intentional looking sharpening choil. So we'll see how things develop. I may not even use it enough for that to matter. I'll get there when I get there, if I get there. But it is a very nice looking little EDC knife. It's a nice size. Large Inkosi, PM2. And the new Shirogorov Q95. So it's the smallest one on the table. Smaller than a PM2, smaller than the Inkosi, smaller than a Q95. Pretty small knife. I'm guessing this is probably closer to paramilitary 3 size. I don't have one of those to show you though. It's fairly light as well. 3.9 ounces. Very light knife, especially, you know, for a titanium frame lock, 3.9 ounces is nothing. Large Inkosi, 4.9, a whole ounce on this thing. Even the PM2, 4 ounces. It's even lighter than the PM2. So it's really a pretty small knife. It doesn't feel like a tiny knife when you look at it and when you handle it and use it. But it is really a pretty small knife. I think it's a really good size for carrying if you were inclined to carry a $700 or $800 knife. Which I am, but I'm not sane. I'm not normal. A lot of you probably aren't either. You wouldn't be watching this stuff. So pretty small knife, pretty light. Feels good in the hand. Wish it had a sharpening choil. Wish it had some jimping on the flipper. Wish it wasn't so lock bar sensitive. Wish I had gotten my custom steel. But none of that's horrendous. You know, it's not going to make me throw the knife out or anything. I wish it had a backspacer, that would look a little more premium, but these standoffs are pretty neat looking. I'm not sure if he's making those in-house or if those are off the shelf somewhere. I think he makes all this stuff himself. That's pretty cool. Those look sweet. He could have just done a boring barrel or something there, but those look really cool. It's milled for weight relief. Big pockets on the inside. That's nice. That's how you get it so light, I guess. Clip's nice. Not very deep carry, but I don't care. I'm not a stickler for that. I think people just like to complain about that because it's cool to complain about. I don't know. Or they need to hide their knife. I don't know. They're worried about banging it into something. I don't care if my clip's deep carry. This is fine. It's nice and short. It's not super long. Nice and rounded. It's not super pokey. It doesn't hurt your hand or anything. It's got a good amount of tension in and out of the pocket. No thumb flicking. Good reverse flick action. Good flipping action when you're off the lock bar. Terrible disengagement. Really hate that detent placement. There's not really a fun way to close this. I mean, you just try to shake it past the detent or cut the shit out of your knuckle or drop it on your thumb and then push it or, I don't know, boomer close it, I guess. So that could be improved, but overall I'm happy with it, I guess. It's not my favorite knife ever. I was hoping it might be, but it's not. It's gonna stick around, probably. I like the way it looks enough that I'll probably put up with its quirks. Every knife has its quirks, no knife's perfect. This is probably close to my favorite knife ever made for the money. This Q95 Shirogorov, and even it's not perfect. So I don't expect this one-man operation to be either. I'm pretty impressed with his handiwork. This is a very nice looking knife. And as far as I'm aware, he's doing it all himself. The only construction issue I have, if I was going to nitpick, his sharpening clipped, like I was talking about it needing a sharpening choil. Even from the factory, from his shop, from his garage or wherever he's making these, the sharpening has hit the plunge grind. So the plunge grind is already messed up from him. There really should just be a sharpening choil here. The other thing, this is not as much of a nitpick, this is kind of a genuine complaint, at least at $800. The lock bar here is not ground right. There's something up with it. It's kind of chipped out. I'm not sure if that's going to show up on video. It's going to have to be really close up. I'll take a picture of that and put it in here. It's kind of chipped out there. It got a little thin, or something maybe. I'm not sure. When he was cutting out the lock bar, it just took a chip of it out. You have to look pretty close to notice it, and it doesn't seem to be affecting function, so I'm not going to like cry to him about it or anything. But, you know, it's a thing I noticed, so it's a thing that needs to be pointed out, because this is an expensive knife, and you would be well within your rights to expect it to be perfect at this price. But I think I can live with it. If it bothers me enough, I'll take it apart and I'll sand it flat. That's all he would do to it anyway if I were to send it to him, and I think I could handle that on my own. But it's not very noticeable. It's fun to play with. I mean, I'd love that a lot more if it was more fun to drop, to disengage, but the disengagement sucks, to be honest with you. I don't really know how to close it other than tilt it down maybe and just let it drop past the detent, but even then it's got really good action, so it swings almost closed, so you still almost get bit. You have to be low enough to dodge the flipper tab, but have your finger enough over to the side where it only hits your nail and not your knuckle. If you're a little more over, it's gonna cut you because it's got a little bit of belly. It's just not a really good way to close it, sadly. So not my favorite fidget toy either. Between that and the lock bar issue, also came with a little bit of lock stick because it doesn't have a lock bar insert. Another old school design choice I don't really agree with. Every knife that doesn't have a lock bar insert, titanium knife, is gonna have some lock stick. There's not really a way around it. Sometimes it'll go away as you wear it in. Sometimes it comes back and goes away and comes back and goes away. It's just the way it is. Put some Sharpie on the lock bar or the lock face of the blade or a little bit of pencil graphite. That'll usually take care of it. It's not a big deal, not the end of the world. People have been dealing with it for a couple of decades now. And a lot fancier operations than Jamie's have been doing the same thing until just now. Chris Reeve used to have just a carbonized titanium lock face. The Mac 2, the Dixon from McNeese, they still don't use a lock bar insert. Grimsmo doesn't use a lock bar insert, so he's in good company with these high-end knives not using a lock bar insert. It's just one of the things I don't like. I've made a whole video about knife design sins that pretty much nobody watched. I'll put it up here if you're one of the few who wants to hear the good word on that. But I think that's about all I need to show you on it. Bottom line, very beautiful knife. Good action. Nice, a pretty impressive job overall from one guy. got a few quirks and a couple of problems. But just look at it. Very good looking knife. Beautiful. Guys, I think that's about it. That's all I have to say on this. I'm feeling lazy today. I'm not going to do a face cam. Just wanted to do a video on this real quick, get it out there. Still a little bummed. Maybe. But overall, I guess I don't really regret the purchase. He does some sales and stuff all the time. I don't know if I'd recommend you ordering a custom one from him. Just watch his site, watch his Instagram, see what he drops, jump on whatever you think looks good, and watch for sales if you don't want to pay full $800. He drops them down to in the sixes all the time. I've seen him 2 or 3 times since I ordered this one, offer coupon codes or special deals. So just keep your eyes out. You'll find one for you eventually. He's a very nice guy, and he has some really cool designs. Great eye for design. So he's worth a follow. Check him out on Instagram. Thanks. I hope you hit the like and subscribe on the way out the door. That would help me a lot. Check my Patreon link in the description. Check one of these other videos out here. I've got a lot of stuff. You'll find something you like. I upload twice, 3 or 4 times a week sometimes. So you'll find something for you, I'm sure. And I appreciate your time. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye!